Welcome back to the Global Actor Podcast. It's me, Elise Arsenault here, and I'm so glad you decided to tune into today's episode. This is part three in a three-part mini-series I've designed all about relationships to help you get more comfortable with reaching out and also understanding the long-term strategy that is required as we build relationships throughout our life and our career. It's something that we do, it's something we need to be good at. Trust is built through consistency, not one email, not one coffee, not one conference or one audition. It's about consistency. I wanted to start by sharing a story from my own performance career that happened about a month and a half ago. So I was performing in a film reading up in the Boston area. It's my friend's film, Jodie Bentley. And it was such a celebration of relationships in many ways. And so I want to point to this as what can happen when you allow yourself to develop all kinds of relationships over time. So it was Jodie's reading of her award-winning script. And it was also a celebration of filmmaking in the Massachusetts area. So at this event, I was performing, and there were, at first I noticed, first of all, I was just celebrating that I was collaborating with a longtime friend, Jodie, and this was our first time ever artistically collaborating before. We're both actors and coaches, and we have supported each other's coaching businesses before, but it was our first time getting to play more creatively like this, which was incredible. And so we've known each other for years. And I also just kind of want to illustrate sometimes how long relationships sometimes are before a collaboration does happen. And you might have relationships within your career where sometimes there are collaborations, sometimes there aren't. You might just have relationships, and there's nothing wrong with that. I want to normalize all kinds of relationships. But at this film reading, there were two actors who I had performed with in past productions in the New England area. So one person I had performed in a production as far back as 2012. So it was amazing to just reconnect with folks I hadn't seen in a while. And then also I looked out at the audience and I saw some current and past coaching clients. I saw a new to me partner, someone I'm looking forward to collaborating with. We have a coffee date set up for later this summer, so it was such a joy to meet this person in person for the first time. This was a virtual friend. So many layers of relationship, and it felt like that night for me was just a beautiful reminder and celebration that I was in the right place. I was meant to be there, and I could just see the evidence of deep relationships all around me. And again, those relationships didn't come from just one thing. They all were made up of many opportunities, many conversations, potentially many emails. While I had at times been chasing someone else's definition of what a successful career was, at that moment, looking around, I realized I had achieved my own definition of success. To me, being a successful creative is getting to be a part of in-aligned projects, getting to make a living in this work, and being surrounded by artists who feel good to be around. And that's what I experienced that night. Now, I got there from continuing to show up for years. I say this in my free Narrate Your Way to Abundance class, and I think it's worth sharing here that 90% is showing up for the opportunities to play, to perform, to help someone, to be of service and share your gifts. I was also creating opportunities for myself and others. I've been connecting, I've been living my life. All of this is part of the ecosystem that is a creative career. And relationships are just this ongoing thing surrounding all of that, right? Eventually, when we take the time to be consistent, be open to, and begin new relationships and nurture old ones, eventually the dots start connecting themselves. So, in the last couple episodes, we talked about the actual act of reaching out. Today, I want to talk about what it looks like when you are consistent and when you do reach out over time, or you do stay open to opportunities and take them and continue to stay in touch with folks you've collaborated with. People often think that trust is built in conversations, like an email or at an event. And that is partially true, but trust is also built when people repeatedly see your work, your professionalism, your generosity, your consistency. For me, even just being at this reading, it was a great way for lots of people to see me, to remember, oh, yeah, Elise is still here. When I show up on social media and share what I'm up to, it gives people the opportunity to see me again. And so that is part of people getting to see that you're still in the work, still doing the thing you say you want to do. And that's powerful. Reliability, knowing that you're consistently doing the thing, is attractive. Folks trust that. Publishers or the decision makers in whatever area of creativity you're working in aren't only looking for talent, they're looking for collaborators. So this framework that I'm teaching you from today assumes that you're already in motion. If you're just starting out or you feel like you've done everything right and the work still isn't coming in, that deserves its own conversation. Now, if that's you, my free Dream Big Plan Smart training is a great next step to get some clarity before we go further. So I'm going to drop a link to that training in the show notes. I want to answer some questions that have come in from this series so far and give a special shout out to our Patreon community. If you haven't checked it out yet, we are the Global Actor on Patreon, and we have lots of awesome benefits that come with being a member. And one of them is the ability to contribute to episodes. So the first question comes from Mary. And Mary says, one thing I'm working on is dramatically increasing the number of people I'm reaching out to. It feels intimidating to email industry folks who I've found emails for, but don't have any direct connection to. And also, emailing multiple people individually from the same organization also feels weird. But not having direct connection to any of them, should it feel weird? What's the best way to handle that? This is such a great question. I'm glad you asked it, Mary. And sending correspondence to folks I've known throughout the industry or not known, like cold and warm reach outs, has been a part of my performing business since I began booking gigs as an actor over 20 years ago. So whether I've been in theater, film, TV, audiobook narration, coaching, all of it has required some sort of reach out to people I don't know. So it's real. Sometimes it was a postcard, sometimes it was an email, but always the question I want you to think about is, what problem are you solving for the person that you are sending this email to? Because it is an act of service for you to be reaching out and sharing about yourself. If someone is a producer, a casting director, it's a big part of their job to have a wide network of diverse possibilities for projects. So you are solving one of their problems by sharing who you are. It's mutually beneficial for them to know you and for you to know them. You both have the opportunity to expand your networks when you reach out to them. It's not a violation of etiquette to reach out. In fact, that's why they've made their contact info available in the directory that you found them in. Gary says, one of the things keeping me from doing as much as I should is contacting multiple people at a publisher, especially those who I've sent an email through their company email, and I know they will all see it. I know I should still reach out to each person individually, but it just feels awkward for some reason to me. Also, I'm about to send my first update, and I feel uncomfortable sending updates to someone who never responded, but I know that it's necessary. So, Gary, I love that you say, I know that it's necessary. You've definitely got to the point where you're like willing to do it, but I hear that you would love some reassurance here. I totally understand how it can feel to reach out and not hear anything back. So a reframe I'd love to offer is something that I learned from Dallas Travers. Back when she taught actors how to market, she said to think of your reach outs like sending ships. I don't love colonialism at all, but this kind of goes back to when folks were exploring, when they would be sending ships out to explore and find gold and treasure in distant lands. These kings and queens, they would be sending out lots and lots of ships. And many of those ships never came back. But once in a while, their ship came in and it was full of gold and treasures. So it could be helpful for you to think of each reach out as a potential ship that you're sending out with no expectation that it's going to come back. You just know in general, when you send enough of those ships out, something is going to come back. That means I was talking to someone the other day about, they sent out 8 reach outs and they got 2 responses. And that was over time. Sometimes, and we're going to talk about time later, but let's just talk about the number. Not everyone is going to be for us, but that doesn't mean that you shouldn't knock on anyone's door. We give ourselves 0 opportunity when we're not willing to send those ships out there. So I would love for you to get to a place where you can send the ships out. There's no expectation that you're going to receive a response. No one is required to respond back to you. So the more that you can get in the habit of sharing and offering updates, knowing that you're building credibility over time, that's what you're doing. Each update that you send shares more about who you are, gives people that opportunity to know, like, and trust you. And that is the work of a reach out. In terms of when to reach out to folks individually or to the casting group as a whole, I know sometimes there are certain companies prefer you reach out to just one email, which goes to everybody. Others say, I would love for you to reach out to me one by one. And sometimes you don't have that information. So what I say to that is run the experiment. Let's be curious here. Maybe one cycle of reach outs you send to the group, and maybe the next reach out you send to people individually and just see how it goes. When we think about relationship building as running the experiment and collecting data, seeing what clicks, for me, that helps me feel a whole lot less pressure. And it helps me lead from a place of curiosity, which feels way more freeing and makes me want to do it more often. Finally, when you do decide to reach out to folks individually, lean into your humanity and really keeping in mind that you're reaching out to one person. If you have had personal interactions with a specific person, or you have certain things in common, or you love what they had to say at a recent event or in a social media post, don't be afraid to express how you feel about that. The organic human connections can feel vulnerable, but I promise you that is where we have the opportunity to deepen relationships. So I was working with a client the other day who said, this person keeps reposting the same things I repost, or I notice they like all the similar things I like. Is it okay for me to mention that in my reach out to them? And I said, absolutely. What do you have to lose? When it's something that a mutual interest that you have, it's almost silly not to do that. I really want you to lean into your common sense here and what you enjoy. If you enjoy people I would love it if someone reached out to me and said, hey, I noticed we both love fill in the blank. That made me feel connected to you. That is the quickest way for me to feel closer to someone. Thank you for those questions, Gary and Mary. I want to talk next about the difference between nurturing a relationship and kind of activating a relationship. I consider it to be nurturing when you're sending congratulations emails, or you're sending gratitude, or you're sharing a resource, you're checking in. There's no agenda. Those reach outs are just about building a relationship, showing up, letting someone get to know you, and really adding value. And then there are moments where you want to send something that's a little bit more activating. What do I mean by that? Maybe those are the reach outs or the touches where you are sharing that you have specific availability coming up, or you're sharing your interest in a certain project that they are a part of, or you have a collaboration idea of something you could do together. Or maybe you want to recommend someone for a project, or you're inviting someone to a specific event. Those activating connections or reach outs are still service oriented. They're still relationship based, but now you're letting people know, hey, here's where I'm headed. Maybe you want to come with me. There's a subtle but important distinction there, and there is a time for each. I wouldn't always just send activation emails, and I wouldn't always just share nurturing emails. We want to find balance there. Now, what makes someone top of mind? This is where I think the magic is. Most actors want to be remembered, but very few think about how memory works. People remember repeated interactions. I actually think of someone in my neighborhood. I have a couple people in my neighborhood who I love. I don't always remember their names, but I love catching up with them. And we have built relationship over time just by that repeated interaction when we pass each other on the street and have a conversation. People also remember specific interests. So getting back to that reach out of, oh my gosh, we like the same things on social. Should I talk about it? Absolutely. People also remember enthusiasm, positive energy. They remember generosity. They also remember consistency. It's not about one perfect email. The goal isn't necessarily even to be unforgettable. The goal is to be remembered often enough that when the right opportunity arrives, your name naturally comes to mind. I want to talk about a couple traps that I see. Trap number one is disappearing, just completely never showing up for the relationship again. So reaching out once and kind of never reaching out again. So let's not do that. And trap number two is waiting until something huge happens. Very often, and I feel like I heard this from multiple coaching clients this past week, that people say, I know I'm supposed to send a reach out, but I don't have anything new to say. That is rarely true. You can share about a conference you're going to. You can share a new demo. You can share about a recent project. You can share an interesting insight that you've had. You can share a recommendation for something you've been enjoying. You can congratulate. You can send gratitude. You can share something someone doesn't know about you. I could do a whole other episode on that. I'm not going to now, but I want to remind you that you have been living your life for fill in the blank, however years old you are. There is no possible way you could have fit all of that into one reach out. So there's plenty of who you are, what you love, what you're passionate about, and what you can do as a performer that I promise you, you have not shared yet. Even if it's not new to you, if it's new to them. And it doesn't always need to, you don't always need to share 10 new things. We do want to be consistent and remind people about what we do as well. We can't assume that from saying one thing one time, someone's going to remember it. So it's okay to repeat things. Now, what does pestering actually look like? This is something that I hear all the time. I think I'm bothering someone by reaching out. I think I'm bothering someone by letting them know I'm interested in a project. Okay. People think following up equals annoying. I promise you that's not true. I love it when people follow up, especially when I've been meaning to get back to them. So please follow up. What pestering is when you are leading with trying to make someone feel guilty, or you're acting entitled to something, or you are pressuring someone, or you're making someone responsible for your career. No one is responsible for your career except for you. So here are some things to avoid in reach outs. Why haven't you responded? Or I haven't heard back. Or did you get my email? When you are sending out and sharing these things repeatedly, that energy is not going to be, that's not going to be eliciting the energy that you want from that person. What you can say instead, I've been thinking of you. Or I saw this and I thought you'd enjoy it. Or I just wanted to share a recent update. Do you feel the difference in energy in those? So as we build a relationship over time, here's what's happening. We're getting visible. We're letting ourselves be seen and experienced. That's visibility. So visibility plus consistency, which is showing up again and again, not just once, plus generosity, leading with value, not always asking for things, but actually adding value, plus time equals opportunity. All right. So visibility plus consistency plus generosity plus time equals opportunity. Let's talk about time. Most people expect something to happen after 3 weeks. Some of my best opportunities took years to nurture. Actually, I've had like three opportunities. Actually, I've had like dozens of opportunities come to me this year that feel like they're things that have been built over time. They're not from a reach out that I sent last week or a reach out I even sent last year necessarily. It takes time. And it's not taking time because you're doing something wrong. It's just how relationships work. And it's actually a good thing. It gives us time to get good at all of the things that we do. And it gives people opportunity to get to experience our journey when we share it with them over time. We're building trust, and it does take time to build trust. To be clear, this isn't about sitting back and waiting for relationships to magically mature over time. You still have to show up to nurture and to activate. Most weeks, I'm actively doing something to relationship build. That could be catching up with a fellow performer or a coach. It could be sending a handful of update emails. Maybe I'm extending an invite to someone for an event. Alongside that, we need to stay sharp in the craft itself. That means continuing to train, practice, and doing the work that's in front of you and available right now. I want to reassure you that if nothing's happened yet, say you've been sending reach outs for a while and you haven't quite gotten what you wanted yet, that doesn't mean that the reach outs aren't working. It just might mean it hasn't had enough time and consistent actions yet for something to evolve and for a collaboration to come up in that specific relationship. So, as we wrap this episode, I want to challenge you to start building out your relationship organization system or your relationship ecosystem. Okay, so your homework is I want you to create 3 lists. List A is going to be a list of people that you'd like to know. List B is people that you're currently nurturing. And list C is people that you'd love to collaborate with. Who could you reach out to this week? As we wrap this series, I want to give you a few reminders. You do not need everyone in the world to know who you are. You only need enough in alignment people to know who you are. The goal isn't to collect contacts. The goal is to build genuine relationships. Some will become friendships. Some will become collaborators. Some will lead to dream projects. But none of them can happen if people never even have the chance, the opportunity to know you. Now, if you would like to learn more about the Great Audiobook Adventure and take the free class to see if our system could better support you, if you would like to have a thriving relationship narrating audiobooks with publishers, please go ahead and check out my free class, which is on demand right now. Go to audiobookadventure.com/class. We will put that link in the chat. And if you're listening to this and you are someone who's already completed the Great Audiobook Adventure, we have a really exciting retreat coming up in person in Providence this fall. It's not for everyone. So if you are interested, please send us an email so that we can send you more information and see if this retreat is a fit for you. Send an email to hello@theglobalactor.com and put retreat in the subject line, and we will send you more information. That's all for now. I'm wishing you an abundant week ahead. And I'd love to know when you make those lists and what your next reach out will be. That's all for now.